Okay, I got a special guest here, our first ever coaching corner here on Regan's Corner with Coach Ryzewski from Boone Grove. Coach, how's it going and how's it popping?
It's good. It's been a learning curve of a season, but I'm proud of all the work that all my kids have put in, and I'm very confident that they're going to finish out the season the strongest and best that they can. So I'm excited to see what they do in the next coming weeks.
Absolutely. So we talked a little bit off air about your three sports and all that. So with your experience coming into this position, playing all those three sports and being one heck of an athlete yourself in high school, so what are some things that you can even draw from those days to these girls now?
Um, I want to say playing sports back then was way different than coaching and playing sports now. But I also know that it was a different mental game for me back then um, versus coaching now. So it's able to help me understand like the things that they're going through, like just with high school and friends and family, and applying that to be a better athlete, be a better student. Um, is something that I fully understand with being a previous student athlete and being able to relate to them today.
Absolutely. And plus, you being a young coach as well, you can relate a little bit more because it wasn't that long ago when you were suiting up with the shoes and all that, and kind of along those lines.
Yeah, no, it seems like a long time, but it really wasn't.
Absolutely. So going into it, what are some things that this Boone Grove job that kind of popped in your head, kind of when you were kind of looking and kind of seeing when you were asked about the job originally?
Yeah, so initially I never pictured myself coaching anything at all. Like it didn't like pop into my mind ever. But then when the position opened last year, I was just talking to some coworkers and they knew I played in the past, like both travel and in school. And they were like, I think you would be a good fit for like coaching here. You work in the guidance department, you have good relationships with the kids, so you can maybe help build a successful, like positive program. And then after like we had those talks, I was like, okay. I was like, maybe I can do it. And then I interviewed for the job and they accepted and here we are.
Absolutely. So, being a social worker, working that guidance counselor position that where you're at Boone, what are some things that helps you like relate to the kids and that relationship building where you need as a head coach?
I think with my current role at the school, it helps my kids in the basketball program feel comfortable, like telling me when things are bothering them, whether it be school, at like school academics, their friends, their family life. They come to me throughout the school day and they tell me when they're stressed or when they need like, positivity going their way. And they bring that same attitude and mental aspect into practice to where they're just not giving it 100% because they have a lot going on, like in the background in their mind that they feel comfortable telling me. And then we take a few minutes, we work through it, and I try to get them back on the right track to either be positive the remainder of the day or to have a better day moving forward with the rest of the week.
Absolutely. So, kind of going from year one, what are some things that you guys can bring into that sectional, maybe even upset one or two teams in that sectional?
So this year in total has been a learning experience for me and for them. It's a struggle for kids with adjustment, and having three completely new coaching staffs the last 3 years has definitely been hard on them. But they've taken each adjustment with the best possible attitude that they can. So we've been slowly building on our plays, on our defense, like everything that goes into being a successful basketball team, to where once it finally clicks in their head, which it slowly has been, they're going to be a good competing team. And I can totally see them doing well in sectionals and maybe shocking some people with how much they've learned and overcome this season so far.
Absolutely. So, kind of those seniors who have been there, Jeffers. So, what are what do they mean to your guys' program? Kind of building this off of having this kind of year, kind of learning, kind of a rebuild kind of year with your program.
They are definitely the backbone of our program. They've been here through all the ups, all the downs, and they're still coming and attending every day with a positive attitude, looking to improve, looking to be as successful as possible with the remaining games that we have. And I am 100% going to be sad when they do leave at the end of the season because they have been the best possible parts of our team. Each one of them contributes a different aspect. Elena is one of our really good shooting players. Drew is very much our best post player with having as much experience in there as possible. She's played varsity probably the most out of all of our seniors. And then Emily, she is just a brutal force to be reckoned with as for any other team. She gives it her all no matter what. She brings up the ball as well. She is going to be missed the most. I have a very good relationship with Emily, and I'm so excited to see what she does athletically in the future because she is moving on in her college career to play softball, and she's definitely going to be a great aspect to any team that she goes on.
Absolutely, because you guys have amazing athletes on your team playing multi sports where
Mm-hmm.
Drew's a great soccer player, Emily's a
Mm-hmm.
great softball player. We're going to be covering a bunch of Emily stuff since we're at Hebron for the softball season. But how, like, first day, you're a new coach on the scene. So, what was that kind of like? Even though you have built in relationships with them, what are some things that you kind of were thinking through your head that the first practice this year and all that?
I was definitely nervous. Anxiety was 100% high that day. I wasn't sure how the kids were going to respond to having a new coach and let alone it being a girl because they were used to having a guy coach last year. Um, but they pretty much welcomed me with open arms. They were super excited to have a fresh new coaching staff, to have an all girl coaching staff. All of us work in the school right now, and they have good relationships with all three of us, with me and my two assistants. Seiko, the JV coach, she is the athletic secretary, so she has all the background information that we ever need to know about sports and eligibility and everything that goes on in the Boone Grove athletics community. So even though I was nervous, I don't think my kids were nervous at all to have a new coach, let alone a whole new coaching staff. Sorry, they're
Absolutely.
making announcements right now.
It's okay. So they're probably getting you guys out early with that ice and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So what are some things like school wise that led you into the career path of even being a social worker?
So ever since I was younger, I always wanted to go down like either a psych or a criminal justice path. And when I was in college, I did both of those backgrounds. I worked in the probation department when I was in college, but I also worked at like a daycare with early childhood development stuff. And that's kind of what pushed me to become like a social worker.
Hmm.
I also had a friend who was completing her master's when I was completing my undergrad at IU, and she was doing her master's of social work, and she would tell me like what goes into like working with her clients and all of the things that she like feels good about with helping like all the different types of people she has worked with because she's worked with adults and children across the board, every type of client you possibly could have. And it just seemed so rewarding to me. And completing or working towards completing my grad school for social work just like emphasize more that I really like the field that I'm in right now. I like working with kids. I like having an impact on their day and on their futures and just seeing everything that they can accomplish like during school and post school.
Absolutely. So going to two basketball powerhouses in Indiana and Kentucky, I mean, it was just on the writing on the wall to go to a school like Boone Grove, where it's near where you grew up, and then coach a little bit at the side.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just made to be.
But yeah, everything has a reason, and I totally think my reason was to be at the school instead of anywhere else.
Absolutely. So, um, who do you guys got next on your guys' schedule, and what are some like scouting reports for that next team?
So next we play Couts, and we just played them in the PCC tournament, and unfortunately we lost. But having played them only a week prior to playing them again this upcoming Thursday is definitely a bonus. We have our film, we have all the things that we need to try and pull out a win on Thursday. And then next week is sectionals where we drew Griffith. Unfortunately, we've never played them before, but we do have some background information on how they run their program. So I think that'll be helpful. The only nerve-wracking thing for me is I'm going back to Highland to play our sectional. So I'm a little nervous about that one, going back to my home school of where I played when I was younger.
Absolutely. I feel you because I'm going when we're doing the PCC and stuff like that, working on region on the side here with what I've been building here on Regan's Corner, going back home with South Central. But looking at that game with the Porter County Conference where you guys were in it 90% of that game, what are some things that you can even take from that game and even watching that Couch team against South Central last night?
I feel like my team, we always start out super strong and then we just get in like a little rut. And sometimes that rut likes to affect us mentally. So trying to get them to be mentally positive the whole time is something that we are going to continue to improve on, especially going into the postseason. I think that is our biggest default right now is when we start to get down, like we panic and we get a little nervous that we can't come back, but they have proven time and again that they can come back from extremely low deficits and almost pull out a win. So hopefully we can use that mental attitude of we stayed with them majority of the game and that we have very much have the capability of beating them when we put our full force effort into it.
Absolutely. So, as a player, what was your favorite offense to run?
I kind of just liked emotion offense because it gave us the freedom to almost do whatever we wanted, and that's what our team in high school was most successful with. Was just being able to play the game of basketball. We didn't have to think of what the next step should be, like where should I go, and we were able to like read the floor and see what's the best look for us in that moment. What's the best cut? What's the best screen? Like where can we go, not where should we go. I think that was our positive aspects. And the girls I played with in high school, I played with them for majority of my life. So that was also positive for us. We knew everyone's strengths and weaknesses on our own team. And then together we learned everyone's strengths and weaknesses on the other team. And that's why we were very successful when we played together.
Absolutely. So, kind of going into this, what are some things to build like a very successful like program in a school like Boone Grove that's been history of basketball, a PCC where you have this historic conference tournament every single year. So, what are some things key wise to build that into a very stable situation?
I think consistency is probably the best key. And like I said, it's been a hard adjustment for them to have different.
Here. Okay, so welcome to the hot corner, no puns intended, coach. So we're gonna get to know you a little bit more. Okay, and I just ask questions like, what's your favorite sports movie? What's the favorite set when you're going into like plays and stuff like that. So that's kind of how we're gonna do stuff with that as well. But uh, what is your favorite all-time sports movie?
Okay, so this might be like a weird one. Um, but I really liked the movie Cinderella Man, the boxing movie from the Great Depression, because we watched it during history, and history was one of my favorite classes when I was in high school. So I still watch that all the time. I know that's like probably a very uncommon answer, but that is probably my like all-time favorite sports movie. Shockingly, it's not a basketball movie.
I mean, there's a lot of good basketball, boxing, baseball movies out there, so that's a great one. Probably the first I've heard of that being mentioned, but that's a great movie. So what's your go-to fast food place?
Um, I don't know. I like Maybe Chipotle. Like that sounds very basic, but if you consider that fast food, I probably eat that the most. And it's mostly because my kids talk about Chipotle all the time when they're in school. So then like it just stays in my mind like, oh, I want Chipotle too. So probably that one.
Okay, solid, solid. What's your go-to order at Chipotle?
I get a bowl with white rice and then chicken and then literally almost every single other topping that you can get because I'm not a picky person. So I just throw everything on there.
Absolutely. So, what is your favorite position on the basketball floor?
I was always either a point guard or a shooting guard. I feel like at times I was like a really good playmaker, but at other times I was a really good scorer. So honestly, it depended on the day of what I favored more, which I guess could be a little inconsistent, but at least I was valuable in another aspect instead of just like sucking one day.
Absolutely. You gotta be versatile, you know? So what is your favorite, like, practice, drill, during practice periods?
I really like transition drills. I think that's mostly because like I am a pretty quick runner and I just love running up and down the floor, like going back and forth with a team. So whenever we have like a good solid transition drill where they are getting like effective looks and being able to push the ball up the floor like well and consistently, that's my favorite type of drill.
Absolutely. So, going here at Boone Grove, what are some things that you're kind of looking for in the next couple years with developing and kind of with the underclass coming with freshmen next year?
Honestly, our main goal right now is to just kind of build up the program like with more girls. Boone Grove is a smaller school than what I am used to growing up in Highland. And so we always had like the max amount of kids that could possibly play on a team. And here's a little different. We have a lot of girls that split time between all three levels of the sport. So being able to have like three solid, consistent teams to build these girls up all together, as opposed to like you starting your sophomore year, you starting your junior year, is probably our biggest thing that we're looking to do. I want to be able to have a good, strong, solid future for all these girls with our program.
Absolutely. Okay. So, when you're at practice, what drills, like position wise, do you most work with?
I mostly work with the guards because that's what I grew up being my whole life. I'm kind of short and kind of thin, so that was the best position for me. And then luckily, my JV and C team coach, they played post and they played small forward, so they work on the girls with those types of moves. Um, so we're very versatile as a coaching staff. Like each person has a specialty, but that doesn't mean that they can't work on the other ones as well. So we're very well rounded as a coaching staff with being able to work one on one with kids or work in big groups.
Absolutely. So, which campus did you like more? Indiana and Bloomington or Kentucky and Lexington?
I've always been a Bloomington girl through and through. And I think because I started there, that's like always going to be my home. My sister's there right now, so I go to visit her every chance I get. It's such a beautiful campus, and it's only 3 hours away, so it can't get much better than that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, let's see here. I'm trying to think. More questions. Okay. So, what is the go-to snack or pregame meal after either one?
Um, I so when I was in high school, my mom always brought me snacks before my games. Like no matter where we were, she always brought me a snack, and it always had pretty much a peanut butter and jelly in it. So I pretty much stay with that. It's kind of like a tradition of eating a PB&J right before a game or even a practice. Like I have them on deck in our guidance freezer, the Uncrustables. So I just keep those with me at all times, and it makes me like a little nostalgic about me playing before.
Absolutely. So it's been a pleasure getting to know you, Coach. Hopefully, we do this quite a bit over the years that you coach here at Boone Grove. Um, even though we are home network to you guys' rival, but it's a pleasure getting to know you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This was awesome.